Okay, Rabbi, so we're in the middle of the sugya of learning the halachos, coming up to Yomim Noroim, Ba'aleinu L'Tova. We started last week, we started with the halachos of Rosh Hashana, and the things that are Nageya, we started with Slichas, we started with Erev Rosh Hashana, v'chole v'chole. Now we're going to move on to a little bit of the night of Rosh Hashana and the day of Rosh Hashana. And then Be'ez Hashem, we're going to move on. Like I said, we're going swiftly through all the halachas that are Nageya, that a person has to know, that is coming up: Rosh Hashana, Seres Beit Tshuva, Yom Kippur, Sukkos, Dalet Minim, v'chole. So just hold on tight as we go fast through many of the halachas that really and truly should be taking us a lot longer, but we're just skimming through some of the halachas that could be Nageya. That's my disclaimer. So we left off last year discussing the things that the minhagim that people have not to eat. Like the Ramah says, not to eat nuts. We spoke about grapes and fish and everything else, and we spoke about that. In fact, I forgot to mention that there are those that have a minig. Again, these are minhagim. If these are your minig, you keep it. If not, you do not have to take it on. Borscht, pickles in vinegar, people don't have. Chrein, strong mustard, all of these things. Again, if these are your minhagim, everything comes from a makar, and if that's your minig, thank you, Yida, then you should keep that over there. Now, moving on to where I want to start today is a very, very important thing for Rosh Hashanah by night. And that is, of course, the Gemara in Hoyes Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, where the Gemara discusses Chesky the following shaila. And that is Simanim a milsa or not a milsa, Aaron Gedalia? That's the kasha. Meaning, very much like this: is what I do in the beginning of the year going to define my year? Is it going to basically spell out what happens the rest of the year? Or does it have absolutely no shaykhs whatsoever? Nafkamina, do we do things on Rosh Hashanah to enable us, to ensure that we have a good year? That's the Gemara in Hoyes Daf Yud Beis, has a machlokes whether or not a simon is a milsa or not. Do we do something in the beginning of the year that will have an effect on the rest of my year, or will it not? For example, the famous Yerushalmi that everyone knows, this one everyone knows, and the Yerushalmi says, don't go to sleep Rosh Hashanah afternoon. Right, Yitzi? Everyone knows that one. What's the pshat? Because if you go to sleep Rosh Hashanah afternoon, you're going to have a sleepy year. It's Yerushalmi. It's not a cute vort. It's not a nice Hasidic thing. It's a emestika Yerushalmi. It's a Chazal. As I state, now what does that mean? After Chatzos, the Arizal, maybe the second day I could be more makel. What if a person is going to be speaking Chas V'Shalom, not our guys, but there could be people in the world that if they're up Rosh Hashanah afternoon, they're going to speak Lashon Hara, speak Dvarim Asurim, or Dvarim B'Teilim. Who knows what the conversation will go to? Father, it's better to go to sleep. That's another portion of that moed. Go to sleep. Okay, I'll take it. Okay? If you know that you're going to be speaking things that you shouldn't be speaking, go to sleep. It's on me. Okay? You heard? Gavaldik. However, what should you be doing? We'll speak about this maybe Rosh Hashanah by night. The Briskerov, for example, the Briskerov was a Boki B'chol HaTorah Kula. Dalet Chelkei Shulchan Aruch Shas Rishonim Achronim. Everything he knew. What did he do on Rosh Hashanah afternoon? Tehillim. He said Tehillim, Yichap Tehillim. Every moment on Rosh Hashanah is so choshev. Every moment. It's hard sometimes to learn the whole time. You know, you're tired, it's exhausting after such a long, beautiful, gishmaka, wonderful davening. The Maisa, what are you going to do? You're exhausted. You had to see the oichet, like, oh, hello. So you say Tehillim, just chap, every minute. So the Yerushalmi says that since Rosh Hashanah is a simon on life, and sleep, as we know, Chazal tell us, that it's the 60th of death, so you're tasting a little bit of death when you go to sleep on a day that's meant to represent life. Why are you going to sleep? So of course, go to sleep by night. Have a night. There are those people that even wake up before nates to make sure that they're not sleeping a whole day. Right? They don't want to sleep in the whole day. But again, Shlomo Zalman and others say that if you need to have koyach, then you can sleep in the morning. You don't have to wake up by Elois. You don't have to wake up by nates. If it's going to give you koyach, Shlomo Zalman said that's not a problem. But going to sleep is going to give you a sleepy year. It's going to give you a year. Not necessarily that means you'll be in bed, but it's not going to give you a chiyastic year. Right, which is a problem, and you find people that complain, Rebbe, what do I do? I'm having this problem, this problem, this problem. They're not chabbos because of Rosh Hashanah. Right? So that's the kash in the Gemara. The Gemara wants to know, if I do something on Rosh Hashanah, does it affect the rest of my year? And the Maisa we paskel like Shitas Abaya, and the Gemara says, Hoyes Daf Yud Beis, that Avada Simanim is a milsa. If that's the case, if Simanim is a milsa, we have to do things on Rosh Hashanah that are going to affect the rest of our year, which is why we have a minig brought down in Shulchan Aruch. Everybody knows that on the first night, some even do it the second night, because it's stated in the Gemara Ragil, which is why you do it the second night. Also, according to many minhagim, you have the Simanim. And the Simanim are the things that we say a Yiratzen. If you look at the Mishnah Berurah, it's a Shlach Kodesh, the Mishnah Berurah says it's really a sort of like a springboard to do tshuva. And what you're meant to be doing during the Yiratzen is not a joke. It's not a cute thing to do. Let's pick up this, something that we never normally eat. We'll say Yiratzen, we'll eat it. It's cute, it's fun, whatever. The Maisa, it's a real thing. Mishnah Berurah says you're meant to be doing tshuva at that time. Now, do I have to eat it if I really don't like it? No, I don't have to eat it. I can still say the Yiratzen according to many poskim, even if I didn't eat it. But a person should try to eat the Simanim. We do it generally, our minig in yeshiva, most people do it after Hamoitzi. In other words, we make Kiddush, we wash, we eat Hamoitzi, and then after we've eaten some challah, we then start with the Simanim. Many people have the minig, of course, of dipping the challah into the honey. It's not considered to be a hefsek, even though it can take another couple of seconds before you eat it, because it's the tzorech achila, and therefore there is no problem over there. And of course, you say the Yiratzen only after eating it in that case. And the question over here is like this: the Maril brings down. The Maril says the minig, the famous minig that everybody comes home with when your little kid is dip the apple in the honey. We can have their rendition afterwards, of course, right? And the question is, how can I have my apple first? Most people dip the apple in the honey first before they come to the other simanim. And the obvious kasha, if anybody learned the Mishnah, Masechtas Brachos, or the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish Aleph, that tells us there's a halacha called Kedimas HaBrachos. Kedimas HaBrachos means that there's a seder to brachos. And we know that the Mishnah Paskins, which Shulchan Paskins that when you have brachos and Shavuos, when the brachos are the same, then Shivas Aminim wins. We spoke about this by Tu B'Shvat, very negay by Tu B'Shvat, negay all the time actually. But if I've got in front of me a Shivas Aminim and something which is also ha'etz but not Shivas Aminim, the halacha is, if I want to eat both of them, then of course Shivas Aminim wins. If that's the case, I want to have a piece of date and a piece of pomegranate, whatever else I'm having with the Simanim, which is Shivas Aminim, but I'm also having the apple. Apple is not Shivas Aminim. So how can you go along and make the eights on an apple if it's not Shivas Aminim, if you've got in front of you Shivas Aminim? So some people, because of that kasha, they bring the Shivas Aminim afterwards. In other words, they'll leave the Shivas Aminim in the kitchen, and they'll dip the apple because it's in front of them. There's no Shivas Aminim in front of them. There's no problem of making different brachos because the mice, there's no Shivas Aminim in front of me. In which case, I could do that, that's fine. However, Shlomo Zalman in the Machzah Mufurish, actually in the horror over there, he brings down that it's okay, even if you've got the Shivas Aminim Zevi in front of you. Why? Because I want, and there's a reason that there's a Seder of everything has a Seder in life, and then I want to have the apple first. So if I want to have the apple first, it's like me having the ice cream with the cone underneath it, right? Elio Dov, when you have the apple, when you have the ice cream on top and you have the cone underneath it, am I mechuyev to make a mazonis before the shakal and the ice cream, even the mazonis, of course, the bracha comes first? The answer is no. Why? Because I want to have the ice cream first. There's some mazonis in front of me, I don't want to have it right now. So the same thing over here, they want a taina, which Shlomo Zalman says in the case of the Simanim, and therefore there is no problem over there to do that. Again, there are those that have different minhagim. You make sure you do that. You make it with the Shem Hashem, the Mishnah Berurah Paskins, that you say the Yiratzen with Hashem Hashem in that case. By the way, a suffix, if a vegetable requires a hadama b'soich hasuda. So, for example, many of the simanim are actually vegetables. Now, do I have to make a boire pri adoma if I just washed and had a hamoitzi? The problem is that many of the vegetables that we have for simanim are not something we generally eat. Malafas pasta, not eaten together with bread. In which case, it could be they have a chiyuv of their own bracha, which is why you should try to make a hadama on something that vadai requires a hadama during the meal, like, for example, a piece of popcorn. Take a piece of popcorn, even though you washed, even though you made hamaitzi, you make a boil pri adom on a piece of popcorn. So therefore you make adom with the popcorn, and now you're yotza all of the simanim in that case over there. Or for example, maybe a peanut, maybe a banana, whatever, anything like that, that's vadi hadoma, but chasuda, then that will patter you from the simanim that if it's a suffix, bracha v'shoina, take the suda. Is everybody with me? Now, Rumi, you good? Weiter. Now, by the way, there are many people that have different simanim that are not brought down in Shulchan Aruch. For example, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch famously brings down the inyan of eating carrots because of merin, right? Even though the Taz is cholik, and the Taz says, how can you come along and make your own simanim? How can you do that? The Taz is cholik on it. But Al Kaponim, The Meister Kitzur Shulchan Aruch does mention it, Mishnah Berurah also, and that's why many people have a minig to have that. The Torah brings down the minig of having the head of a sheep or a ram, because you should dafka be the Rosh, of the head, not the tail. It's also a zecher to the Akedas Yitzchak, of course. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says, by the way, it can be a head of any animal. It doesn't have to be the head of necessarily a sheep or a ram. The Mateh Ephraim brings down the minig, of course, to eat the eyes specifically. Eat the eyes. Why? The Mateh Ephraim, so your eyes are open to Torah. Rabbi say, you want to Rosh Hashana, Mateh Ephraim, open the eyes, your eyes are open to Torah in that case. The others bring down that your eyes, the fish eyes never close, so therefore our eyes will never close to Torah, and everything else over there. The Torah brings down, by the way, the Torah was the Rishon, just to be clear over here, we're dealing with Rishonim. The Torah brings down eating the lung of an animal on Rosh Hashana, and that's for Re'iyah, not brought down in Shulchan Aruch, but the Torah does bring it over there. The Torah brings down eating an esrog on Rosh Hashana. No makar in the Gemara, nowhere in Shas will you find they didn't even esrog on Rosh Hashana, but however, it is brought down that the Eitz Hadas, that Adam Rishon ate Rosh Hashana was esrog, according to the Zohar Kodesh, one pshat at least. Al Kaponim, that's why people sometimes eat esrog over there in that case. Again, the Kaf HaChaim says, we didn't mention this clear enough, Kaf HaChaim brings down that if you don't want to eat it, you can see it. That's also good enough, and you can make the Ratzon over there. And the Yavitz brings down that the whole inyan of eating the Simanim is really to mechazik a person in tefillah. That's what the Yavitz brings down, of course. And the Shlach Kodesh, which I told you before from the Heilige Mishnah Berurah, is reminds a person to do tshuva. Let's go very quickly to two last halachas that we have to know for Rosh Hashanah. Of course, there's a lot. We have to go through 3-day Yontiv. The mitzvah maybe blined tomorrow. We'll discuss the inyan of Erev Tavshinin. But Al Kaponim, halacha number 1 that I want to get to is eating before Tkiyas. Right, eating before Tkiyah Shofar. In Hilchos Tkiyah Shofar, you will not find any halacha that there's a problem with eating before Tkiyah Shofar. The Mishnah Berurah brings it up. You look it up yourself. Tov Reish Tzadi Beis Sikot Tezvov. The Mishnah Berurah brings down B'Shem Tosefta that it's also to eat before Tkiyah Shofar. Why? Tkiyah Shofar is a mitzvah d'oraisa. It's a mitzvah min haTorah, it's a pasuk, and it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to blow the shofar. And therefore, as we know, in any halacha, for those of you that are familiar with, for example, Orach Chaim Simon Peites, we discussed the halachas of eating before Shachris and everything else. Ayin Shom over there. But Al Kaponim, the Mishnah Berurah brings down B'Shem Tosefta. You got a mitzvah d'oraisa to Tkiyah Shofar. How could you eat before? You're not allowed to eat before that. So what's the pshat? And by the way, you find not only the Mishnah Berurah B'Shem Tosefta, you find it in the Mateh Ephraim as well. The Chai Odom brings it. The Halachos Chassam Sofer brings it, and others as well. That there's an issa to eat before Tkiyah Shofar. So what's everyone going to say? But everybody does it. They make a kiddush in shul. Must be it's okay, right? First of all, no. Just because everyone does something does not mean it's okay. However, there are of course their terim, but it's important to know their terim. Rabbi say, it's Rosh Hashanah. You don't want to be toivel v'sheretz b'yadai. You don't want to be doing an aveira on Rosh Hashanah. Chaval. You want to keep all of Shulchan Aruch on the day of Rosh Hashanah, and every day of the year, of course, as well. But specifically, Avada, Rosh Hashanah as well. Heter number 1, Rabbi say. Heter number 1 is, of course, te'ima ba'alma. Achila is asa. Te'ima, tasting, is always going to be mutter, right? Which is lamaisa, which the Mishnah Berurah says that tzorek godel, that if a person is in a tzorek godel, then avada he can be makel. Rav Shlomo Zalman and others say that's the minig of yeshivas. The minig of yeshivas is that you make a kiddush and that you eat over there, but don't eat too much because it's considered to be a te'ima. What's a te'ima? Not too much. In other words, you can't be kovei suda. Kovei suda goes, by the way, on mezonos. Obviously, no one's going to be washing then, generally speaking. But mezonos, you can't have too much mezonos. Don't have more than a kibetza of cake. In other words, when they're serving the kiddush cake, rogalach, whatever it is they're going to be serving, no problem. Make a mezonos, kiddush mokav suda gavaldik. But don't eat too much mezonos. Eat as much fruit, vegetables, kegel, all of these things, no problem. But cake, don't eat too much cake. Because you eat too much cake, you'll be kaveh suda. Kaveh suda is an isagomor before Tkiyah Shofar, according to everyone. No one is arguing on that. That's Masman the Palik, that's the Kula Yalma, also to be kaveh suda before Tkiyah Shofar. The more cake you eat, the more like you have of kaveh suda, and therefore have a bit of cake to be Yotzei Kiddush suda, and then eat fruit, and then eat kegel and herring, whatever else you want to eat, no problem. But don't eat too much cake in that case over there. And the last halacha that I wanted to get to today, it's already late, is Hashana miyom le'yom. The Gemara brings down a shaila. We pass on halacha l'maisa. What the Gemara says that Rosh Hashanah, even though it's 2 days, it's yom harichtahi. It's one long day of Rosh Hashanah. One long day of Rosh Hashanah. So really, if it's 1 day, so I'm allowed to prepare from 1 day to another day, because really, it's only 1 day. The answer is no. That Gemara was only said l'chumra, but not l'kula. And if that's the case, it's also to be meichin, to prepare from one day to another day. So you cannot prepare from day number 1 of Rosh Hashanah to day number 2. So for example, if you're eating somewhere, whatever it is, for example, you're eating somewhere on the first day Rosh Hashanah, you're having a Seder somewhere, and they're like, okay, let's set the table now for tonight's Seder. Right, for the second night Rosh Hashanah. That would be asa to do that. Why? Because you are preparing from the first day of Rosh Hashanah to the second day of Rosh Hashanah. So that will be a problem. Now again, there are certain halachas that are mutter. For example, taking things out the freezer. If you take it early enough, then it's not muchar that you're doing it for the next day. There's a mokim to be makels with the chayodom. Things arrive from the case of oitze yayin. There's a mokim to be makel. If you're taking out chalas, for example, if you know by the second day, imagine if you can't prepare things, right? You can't take anything out the freezer that you prepared before Yom Tov. You can take it out when second day comes in, the hainu at night of the second day, you're about to eat a seder, then 10 minutes later, everything's frozen. So if you take it out early enough, so that's not muchar that you're doing it, then it's okay, it's no problem whatsoever. Heating up food and everything else, again, is problematic. Now, what we'll discuss, Be'ez Hashem, Bli Neder tomorrow, is that's Yom Tov to Yom Tov. Now, this year we have a special Shaila, Baruch Hashem, with Zaycha many times this year, over the next few weeks, for this Gavaldige Shaila of a beautiful 3-day Yom Tov, to spend 3 days, 3 days of Yom Tov with the Rabboni Shalom, together with the Shabbos as well. It's Moelik. What do you do to cook for Shabbos Kodesh? How can I make the Heilige Chulent on Friday afternoon for Shabbos Kodesh, if the Maisa you're not allowed to prepare from Yom Tov for another day? Be'ez Hashem, join us tomorrow. We'll do that. Have an amazing day.